The conference hall stretched wide across the floating station above the planet Velmar Prime. Inside, representatives from 43 alien species sat in their designated sections. Some breathed methane through tubes, others floated in gravity fields. A few resembled insects, while others looked like walking crystals. They had gathered for the monthly Galactic Coalition Council meeting. Ambassador Deho stood at the speaker's platform. His dark suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and armor worn by the alien delegates. He was the only human in the room. He had been the only human in this room for 5 years now. Honorable members of the coalition, Deho began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I come before you again to request Earth's admission into the Galactic Coalition. My people have demonstrated patience and goodwill. We have complied with every requirement you have set before us. A ripple of clicking sounds came from the insect-like Thressen delegation. It was laughter. Deho had learned to recognize it. Chancellor Vex, a towering being with 4 arms and silver skin, raised one hand. Ambassador Deho, we have reviewed your petition. The answer remains unchanged. Humanity is too primitive, too violent. Your species has not evolved beyond warfare. You fight among yourselves constantly. How can we trust you among the stars? With respect, Chancellor, those conflicts have decreased significantly since first contact, Deho replied. Our nations have united under a single planetary government. We have achieved peace. A peace born from fear of us, not genuine evolution, said Representative Calix, whose tentacles writhed with each word. Your people only stopped fighting each other when you learned you were not alone in the universe. That is not progress. That is adaptation to avoid extinction. Deho clenched his fists behind the podium where the aliens could not see. Every species must start somewhere. We are willing to learn. We are willing to grow. You are willing to wait, you mean? Chancellor Vex said coldly. The silence protocol remains in effect. Earth's communications will continue to be suppressed. You may not reach beyond your solar system. When your species truly matures, perhaps in another century or two, we will reconsider. This council is adjourned. The platform beneath Deho's feet hummed as it lowered him back to the floor level. Around him, alien delegates filed out, their conversations filling the air in dozens of languages. Not one of them looked at him. Not one acknowledged his presence. Deho made his way to the human observation room, a small compartment the coalition had granted him. It had a window that showed the planet below and the stars beyond. He pressed his hand against the cool glass and closed his eyes. They will never accept us, he whispered to himself. Far from the coalition station, beyond the outer planets of Earth's solar system, Admiral Junho stood on the bridge of the battleship Righteous Fury. The ship was massive, nearly 2 kilometers long, its hull painted black to blend with the darkness of space. Around it, thousands of other ships waited in formation, hidden among the asteroids of the Kuiper Belt. Status report, Junho commanded. Commander Taeyang looked up from his console. All ships are at ready status, Admiral. The fleet stands at 12,247 vessels. Fighter squadrons are at full capacity. Weapon systems are charged and ready. Junho nodded slowly. He was a man in his late 50s with gray streaking through his black hair. His uniform bore the insignia of the Terran Defense Force, an organization that officially did not exist according to the Coalition's records. Any movement from the Coalition monitoring stations? Junho asked. None, sir. They still believe Earth is contained, Taeyang replied. The suppression satellites continue to jam our standard communications, just as they have for 50 years. A slight smile crossed Junho's face. They jam the communications they know about. On the other side of the ship, in the science division, Dr. Minji stood before a glowing blue sphere suspended in a magnetic field. The quantum entanglement communicator had taken her team 15 years to perfect. It was based on alien technology they had salvaged from a crashed Coalition probe, but improved with human ingenuity. Doctor, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command, her assistant said. Minji activated the device. The voice of General Park, leader of Earth's Defense Council, came through clearly despite the millions of kilometers between them. Dr. Minji, we have confirmation. The Veldran Empire is mobilizing their fleet. Intelligence suggests they are planning an attack on Earth within the next 72 hours. Minji's hands moved quickly across the controls. How many ships? Approximately 3,000 warships. They believe we are defenseless. They intend to make an example of us, to show the Coalition what happens to unprotected worlds. Have you informed Admiral Junho? I am about to. Stand by. Across the ship, Junho received the same message. His expression did not change, but something flickered in his eyes. Something that had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. All hands battle stations, Junho announced across the fleet-wide channel. This is not a drill. The Veldrin are coming. We have trained for this day. We have prepared for this day. Now we will show the galaxy what happens when you corner humanity and expect us to die quietly. Thousands of ships began to move through the darkness. They had been built in secret over 5 decades. Every nation on Earth had contributed. Every resource had been dedicated to this single goal: survival. Young pilot Hyun sat in the cockpit of his fighter, his hands gripping the controls. He was 24 years old and had never seen Earth from space in daylight. He had been born in the underground military facilities on the moon, trained since childhood for combat against enemies humanity had never officially met. All fighters. This is Wing Commander Bora. The voice came through his helmet. Remember your training. Stay in formation. Trust your wingmen. And when the time comes, show them that humans do not break easily. Hyun felt his heart pounding. Around him, 500 other fighters were launching from the carrier Defiant Hope. They formed up in attack patterns, waiting for the signal. On Earth, billions of people went about their daily lives, unaware that war was about to reach their doorstep. They knew the coalition existed. They knew humanity was being watched, but they did not know about the fleet. They did not know about the weapons. They did not know that their ancestors had spent 50 years preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. In the Coalition Council chambers, Chancellor Vex was reviewing reports when an aide approached him hurriedly. Chancellor, we are receiving strange readings from the Veldrin border. They appear to be moving a large military force. Toward which territory? Vex asked, only mildly interested. Toward the Sol system, Chancellor. Toward Earth. Vex's expression did not change. The silence protocol forbids coalition interference with uncontacted worlds. If the Veldrin wish to claim Earth, that is their concern. The humans will learn what happens to species that remain primitive too long. Should we not warn them, Chancellor? Warn them with what? They cannot even hear us through their suppression field. And even if they could, what would they do? Launch their primitive rockets at a star-faring empire? Vex turned away. Let this be a lesson to all who refuse to evolve. But as he spoke those words, he did not know that the lesson was about to be taught to someone else entirely. In the darkness of space, 12,000 human warships waited with weapons armed and crews ready. They had been silent for 50 years. That silence was about to end with a roar that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The Veldrin Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past 2 centuries. Their warships were painted blood red, a color meant to strike fear into any who saw them approaching. Warlord Thrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Blood Reaver, and watched Earth grow larger on the view screen. Such a beautiful planet, Thrax said, his voice a deep rumble. He was nearly 3 meters tall with scales covering his body and 3 eyes that gleamed with cruel intelligence. It will make a fine addition to our empire. The humans will make adequate slaves once we break their spirit. His second in command, a scarred warrior named Drax, bowed slightly. My lord, the fleet reports all systems ready. 3,000 ships await your command. Shall we begin the bombardment? Thrax smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. First, transmit our message across all coalition frequencies. Let the galaxy watch as we claim this world. Let them see what the mighty Veldrin do to those without protection. The message was broadcast across space. In the Coalition Council chambers, Chancellor Vex received it along with every other species. The transmission showed Thrax standing proudly before his armada. People of the Coalition, I am Warlord Thrax of the Veldrin Empire. Today we claim the planet Earth and all its inhabitants as property of our empire. The humans have no defenses, no fleet, no hope. They are alone, abandoned by the Coalition that should have protected them. Let this be a reminder that weakness is not tolerated in this galaxy. Ambassador Deho saw the transmission in his quarters. His blood ran cold. He rushed to the communication station and tried to send a warning to Earth, but the suppression satellites blocked his signal as they always had. Please, he whispered, trying again and again. Please let this message through, but nothing went through. Earth was silent just as it had been for 50 years. On the Veldrin flagship, Thrax gave the order. Begin the attack. Target their major cities first. Show them that resistance is futile. 3,000 warships moved into Earth's orbit, their weapons charged, preparing to rain destruction on the unsuspecting planet below. The people of Earth looked up at their skies and saw red lights appearing like falling stars. In the underground command center beneath the Himalayas, President Soyan watched the tactical display. She was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen too much hardship. Around her, generals and admirals waited for her command. "They have entered our orbital space," General Park reported. "The Veldran fleet is preparing to fire on our cities." President Soyan took a deep breath. For 50 years, this moment had been prepared for. For 50 years, humanity had worked in secret, building and training and hoping they would never need to reveal what they had created. "Send the signal," she said quietly. "All ships decloak. Activate the fleet." Across the solar system, the signal was received instantly through the quantum entanglement network. On the bridge of the Righteous Fury, Admiral Junho stood and spoke into the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Junho. The enemy is at our doorstep. They believe we are helpless. They believe we will surrender or die without a fight. They are wrong. Today, we show the galaxy who humanity truly is. All ships decloak and engage." "For Earth!" "For Earth!" The cry echoed across 12,000 ships. In orbit around Earth, Warlord Thrax was about to give the final command to fire when his sensor officer suddenly shouted in alarm. "My lord, multiple contacts appearing on sensors. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. What?" Thrax spun toward the displays. "That is impossible." "Earth has no fleet." But the sensors did not lie. All around the Veldran armada, human warships appeared from nowhere. They had been cloaked, hidden, waiting. Now they revealed themselves in a massive show of force that stunned every Veldran warrior. 12,000 warships surrounded the 3,000 Veldran ships. They were smaller than the Veldran vessels, but there were so many of them. And they moved with a coordination that spoke of years of training. "Veldran fleet, this is Admiral Junho of the Terran Defense Force," the message came through on all channels. "You have entered Earth space with hostile intent. You have threatened our people. You have made a grave mistake. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of our system, or face the consequences." Thrax's face twisted with rage. "How dare they? A primitive species threatens us, threatens the Veldran Empire." He turned to his crew. "All ships, open fire. Destroy them all." The battle of Earth's orbit began in that moment. The Veldran ships fired first, their massive plasma cannons lighting up space with deadly energy. But the human ships scattered like a school of fish avoiding a predator. They moved in patterns the Veldran had never seen before, weaving and dodging with impossible precision. Captain Bora commanded the destroyer Indomitable from the center of the battle. She was a veteran with 20 years of secret combat training and steady hands on the controls. "All weapons fire at will," she ordered. "Target their engines and weapons systems." The human ships unleashed their arsenal. Railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Missile pods launched hundreds of smart warheads that hunted their targets. Laser batteries cut through armor with focused beams of light. And the tactics were brutal, efficient, and terrifyingly effective. Hyun piloted his fighter through the chaos, his targeting computer locking onto a Veldran cruiser. His wingman, a pilot named Soman, flew beside him in perfect formation. "Hyun, I have 3 fighters on my tail," Soman called out. "I see them. Break left on my mark." 3, 2, 1 mark. Both fighters spun in opposite directions. The Veldran fighters tried to follow, but human reflexes and training proved superior. Hyun came around behind them and fired, destroying 2 in quick succession. Soman got the 3rd. "Good kill," Hyun said. "Reform an attack vector to the cruiser." They dove toward the massive Veldran ship, dodging defensive fire. Their missiles streaked forward and slammed into the cruiser's engine section. Explosions bloomed across its hull. On the Blood Reaver, Warlord Thrax watched in growing horror as his fleet began to fall apart. The humans were everywhere, attacking from all angles with a ferocity that shocked him to his core. They did not hesitate. They did not retreat. They fought like cornered animals with nothing left to lose. "My lord, we have lost 300 ships," Thrax reported, fear creeping into his voice. "Our casualties are mounting. These humans fight like demons. Impossible." "They are primitives," Thrax roared. "Focus all fire on their command ships. Break their coordination." But the humans had no single command ship. Every vessel operated with independence, linked by their quantum network but capable of acting alone. When Veldran ships concentrated fire on what they thought were commanders, other human ships swooped in and tore them apart. Captain Bora saw the Veldran flagship trying to break away from the battle. She smiled coldly. All ships of Battle Group 7 form up on me. We are going after their warlord. 50 human destroyers and cruisers moved as one, cutting through the Veldran formation like a knife. They focused their fire on the Blood Reaver, hammering its shields with everything they had. Aboard the medical ship Mercy's Light, combat medic Hana worked frantically to save wounded pilots and crew members who had been evacuated from damaged ships. Blood covered her hands as she sealed a pilot's wounds. "We are winning," her assistant said, monitoring the battle reports. "We are surviving," Hana corrected. "There is a difference." But even she could not deny the truth in the numbers. After 6 hours of brutal combat, the Veldran fleet was being destroyed. Their ships burned in Earth's orbit, their crews dead or fleeing, and still the human ships pressed the attack without mercy. Warlord Thrax stood on his burning bridge as human weapons tore through the Blood Reaver's hull. Around him his crew lay dead or dying. He could not believe what was happening. The Veldran had never lost a battle. Never. "Transmit a surrender," he ordered desperately. "Communications are down, my lord," an officer replied. Thrax looked at the view screen one last time. He saw 50 human warships surrounding his flagship, their weapons glowing hot from constant firing. He saw Earth in the background, beautiful and blue and completely untouched. The Blood Reaver exploded in a ball of fire that lit up Earth's orbit like a second sun. 18 hours after the battle began, it was over. The Veldran fleet was destroyed. Only a handful of ships managed to escape, fleeing back to their empire with tales of horror and defeat. 3,000 warships had come to conquer Earth. Fewer than 100 survived. Admiral Junho stood on his bridge and looked at the damage reports. 2,000 human ships had been lost. 20,000 crew members were dead. But Earth was safe, and the galaxy was watching. "Open a channel on all coalition frequencies," Junho ordered. When the channel opened, he spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Admiral Junho of the Terran Defense Force. To all species of the galaxy, hear this message. Earth is not defenseless. We are not primitive. We are not slaves. Any who come to our world with violence will meet the same fate as the Veldran. We came in peace 50 years ago. You forced us to prepare for war. Now you know the truth. Humanity will not be silenced anymore." Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched in stunned silence as the message played. The primitive world of Earth had just destroyed one of the most feared military forces in known space. The silence was. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species with access to the Coalition network watched the recordings of the battle. They saw the Veldran fleet, feared conquerors of dozens of worlds torn apart by ships that should not have existed. They heard Admiral Junho's message, spoken with calm authority that left no room for doubt. Earth was no longer the silent, primitive world in the corner of the galaxy. Earth was now a power that demanded attention. In the Coalition Council chambers, chaos reigned for the first time in centuries. Representatives shouted at each other in a dozen languages. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others called for diplomatic outreach. A few species, those who had been conquered by the Veldran in the past, secretly celebrated the Empire's defeat. Chancellor Vex stood at the center of the storm, his 4 arms raised for silence. It took nearly an hour for the chamber to quiet down. "Order," he commanded. "We must address this situation with wisdom, not panic." Wisdom? Representative Calix's tentacles writhed with agitation. "The humans lied to us. They claimed to be peaceful while building a war fleet." "They built a defense fleet," corrected Ambassador Daiho, who now stood at the speaker's platform with his head held high. "There is a difference. You imposed the silence protocol on us. You blocked our communications. You left us isolated and vulnerable. What did you expect us to do? Wait patiently while empires like the Veldran decided to make us slaves? You should have trusted the Coalition to protect you," another representative said. Daiho laughed bitterly. "Protect us? You just watched as 3,000 warships approached Earth with the intent to conquer. Not one Coalition ship moved to help us. Not one of you sent a warning. You were content to let us die." The chamber fell silent. No one could deny the truth of his words. Chancellor Vex's expression was unreadable. "The silence protocol has been removed. Earth may now communicate freely across the galaxy, but we must establish proper diplomatic relations. There are matters that must be discussed." "Yes, there are," Daiho agreed. His voice grew cold. We have learned something very disturbing, Chancellor. During our preparation over the past 50 years, we conducted reconnaissance missions across Coalition space. We found something that disturbs us greatly. We found humans who were not from Earth. The chamber erupted in nervous murmurs. What are you suggesting, Ambassador? Vex asked carefully. I am not suggesting anything. I am stating facts. Over the past 50 years, while the Coalition told us we were too primitive to join galactic society, multiple species were abducting humans from Earth. Thousands of our people were taken. Some were sold as slaves, others were used in experiments. Some were simply collected like animals for alien zoos. The chamber went deathly quiet. We have documented evidence of human captives on 17 different worlds across Coalition space, Deho continued. We have names. We have locations. We have proof. He activated a holographic display that showed images of humans in cages, humans working in alien mines, humans being examined by alien scientists. The images were damning. Earth makes one simple demand, Deho said quietly. Return every human taken from our world. Every single one. You have 30 days, and if we refuse? Asked Representative Calix. Deho smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then you will discover that humanity's capacity for patience has limits. Far from the council chambers, on a black operations ship called Shadow Strike, Commander Taeyang prepared his team for their mission. He was a man who looked like he could break steel with his bare hands, with scars on his face that told of battles fought in secret. Listen up, he told his squad of 20 elite soldiers. Intelligence has located a human trafficking operation on the planet HFY 4. Approximately 50 humans are being held there, scheduled to be sold at auction tomorrow. We are going to get them out. What if the Hexor government objects? Asked one soldier. Then they will learn the same lesson the Veldrin learned, Taeyang replied. We are not asking permission. We are taking our people home. The Shadow Strike entered the Hexor system under full stealth. It was a small ship, built specifically for infiltration and rescue operations. On the planet below, the city of Nexar sprawled under 3 moons, its buildings reaching toward the sky. Taeyang and his team descended in drop pods, landing in the industrial district where the trafficking compound was located. They moved through the shadows like ghosts, avoiding detection by local security. The compound was guarded by armed Hexor soldiers, insect-like creatures with hard shells and multiple limbs. Taeyang signaled his team into position. Remember, our priority is getting our people out safely, he whispered through the communication link. We are not here to start a war, but we will finish one if necessary. They breached the compound simultaneously from 4 different entry points. The Hexor guards barely had time to raise their weapons before they were disabled by stun rounds and neural disruptors. The human soldiers moved with precision born from years of training. In the holding cells, 50 humans cowered in fear when they heard the sounds of combat. They had been prisoners for months, some for years. They had given up hope of rescue. Then the cell doors opened and they saw soldiers in black armor with the Earth insignia on their shoulders. We are Terran Defense Force, Taeyang announced. You are coming home. One woman, her face thin and scarred, began to cry. Is this real? Are you really here? We are really here, Taeyang assured her gently. And we are not leaving without you. Can you walk? The rescue took less than 15 minutes. By the time Hexor security forces arrived in strength, the Shadow Strike was already breaking orbit with all 50 humans safely aboard. On Earth, in the underground research facility where she had spent 15 years developing quantum communication technology, Dr. Minji was working on something new. Something that would change warfare forever. Her assistant, a young engineer named Jiwon, stood beside her looking at the prototype weapon on the testing platform. Explain it to me again, Jiwon asked. How does it work? Conventional weapons require time to reach their target, Minji explained. Missiles can be intercepted. Energy weapons can be deflected by shields. But this weapon uses quantum entanglement to bypass those defenses entirely. You are talking about instant transmission? Exactly. The warhead appears inside the target ship, already detonating. There is no flight time, no warning, no defense. Jiwon whistled softly. That is terrifying. That is survival, Minji corrected. The galaxy is full of species more advanced than us. We need every advantage we can develop. She activated the test sequence. A small warhead vanished from the platform and appeared inside a shielded test chamber 300 meters away, where it detonated harmlessly. "Success," Minji said with satisfaction. "Begin production. I want these weapons installed on our entire fleet within 3 months." Jiwan looked at her with concern. "Doctor, do you really think we will need them? After what we did to the Veldran, surely no one will attack us again." Minji's expression was sad. "Jiwan, the universe is not kind to those who appear weak. We showed strength once. Now we must maintain it or others will test us." She was right. In secret chambers across Coalition space, meetings were being held. Some species looked at Earth's victory and saw an opportunity for alliance, but others saw only a threat that needed to be eliminated before it grew too powerful. 5 species in particular, those who had dominated coalition politics for centuries, met in secret. They called themselves the Preservation Alliance, though their true goal was preserving their own power. "The humans must be contained," said the Preservation Alliance leader, a crystalline being named Zarath, whose body reflected light in rainbow patterns. "They have shown themselves to be dangerously aggressive and surprisingly capable. If we allow them to continue unchecked, they will upset the balance of power that has kept the galaxy stable for millennia." "What do you propose?" asked another member. "We assemble a force large enough to intimidate them into submission," Zarath replied. "Not to destroy them, but to force them to accept limitations on their military growth. They will disarm most of their fleet and accept coalition oversight, or they will face annihilation." "How many ships do you think will be needed?" "The humans fielded 12,000 ships against the Veldran. We will gather 25,000. Numbers so overwhelming that they will have no choice but to surrender." The plan was set in motion. 5 empires began quietly gathering their fleets, preparing for the confrontation they believed would put humanity back in its place. On Earth, President Soyon received the intelligence reports about the Preservation Alliance's movements. She sat in her office looking at the numbers and felt the weight of her entire species on her shoulders. "Can we win?" she asked Admiral Junho, who stood before her desk. "That depends on your definition of winning," Junho replied honestly. "If winning means defeating their fleet, perhaps. If winning means avoiding massive casualties on both sides, that becomes much harder. How many of our people will die? Too many. But if we surrender, if we allow them to dictate terms to us, then everyone who died fighting the Veldran will have died for nothing." President Soyan stood and walked to the window that showed Earth's surface far below. Billions of people lived down there, unaware of the decision being made above there. The Preservation Alliance fleet gathered at the edge of human-controlled space like a storm waiting to break. 25,000 warships from 5 different empires hung in the darkness, their combined power enough to conquer entire sectors of the galaxy. At the center of the armada, aboard the massive command carrier Eternal Authority, Zarath observed the tactical displays with satisfaction. "The humans will see reason when faced with such overwhelming force," Zarath declared to the assembled commanders. "They are not fools. They will understand that resistance means extinction." The commanders of the 5 allied fleets nodded in agreement. They represented the Crystalline Concordat, the Methane Collective, the Therixian Star Kingdom, the Unified Hegemony, and the Celestial Dominion. Together they had ruled coalition politics for centuries. They would not allow upstart humans to disrupt that order. "Send the ultimatum," Zarath commanded. The message was transmitted across all frequencies, designed to reach not just Earth but every species in the galaxy. Zarath wanted witnesses to humanity's surrender. "People of Earth," the message began, Zarath's crystalline form glowing with reflected light. "You have demonstrated impressive military capability. However, your actions have destabilized the peace of this galaxy. The Preservation Alliance offers you one opportunity to avoid annihilation. You will reduce your fleet to no more than 1,000 vessels. You will accept coalition monitoring stations throughout your system. You will submit to regular inspections to ensure compliance. You have 24 hours to respond. Failure to agree to these terms will result in the complete destruction of your military forces." On Earth, President Soyon watched the message with her cabinet and military leaders gathered around her. The room was silent when it ended. 24 hours, General Park said quietly. "They expect us to surrender in 24 hours. Can we fight them?" President Soyon asked Admiral Junho. Junho studied the tactical assessment on his tablet. 25,000 ships against our 12,000. They outnumber us more than 2 to 1. Conventional tactics would suggest our chances are poor. "I did not ask about conventional tactics, Admiral. I asked if we can fight them. Junho looked up at her and a slow smile crossed his face. Madam President, when have humans ever fought conventionally? In the communications room, the response to the Preservation Alliance was being prepared. President Soyeon herself would deliver it. She stood before the camera, wearing a simple suit with Earth's insignia on the collar. Behind her, a holographic display showed Earth rotating peacefully. People of the Preservation Alliance, she began, her voice calm but filled with steel. You have given us an ultimatum. You expect us to disarm, to surrender, to accept your authority over our world and our people. I have a response for you. Humanity does not kneel. She paused, letting the words sink in. For 50 years you left us alone in the darkness. You told us we were too primitive, too violent, too dangerous. You suppressed our communications. You allowed others to abduct our people. You stood by and watched as the Veldrin came to conquer us. You did nothing to help. And now, when we have proven we can defend ourselves, you demand we surrender that defense to you. Her voice grew stronger. You say you want peace? We offered you peace 50 years ago. You rejected it. You say you want stability? We have brought stability to our own world. You say you want to prevent war? Then turn your fleets around and go home. Because if you attack us, you will not be fighting to preserve peace. You will be fighting to preserve your own dominance. And humanity has never bowed to tyrants, no matter how powerful they claim to be. She stepped closer to the camera. You have 25,000 ships. We have 12,000. You believe numbers will win this battle. You are wrong. Because you are fighting for control. We are fighting for survival. And there is nothing more dangerous in this universe than a species fighting for its very existence. Come if you must. But know this, every ship you send against us will burn. Every crew member you sacrifice will die for nothing. And when this is over, when your fleets are broken and scattered, the galaxy will remember that humanity warned you. We came in peace. You forced us to show strength. Now you will learn the cost of threatening our home. She straightened her shoulders. Our answer is no. Earth will not surrender. Earth will not submit. Earth will stand and we will fight. And if you are wise, you will choose a different path. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the broadcast. In the coalition chambers, Ambassador Daeho watched with pride. On the Preservation Alliance flagship, Zarath's crystalline body blazed with fury. Impossible, Zarath raged. They dare refuse? They dare threaten us. Perhaps we should reconsider, suggested one of the other commanders, a methane collective admiral whose voice came through a breathing apparatus. The humans defeated the Veldrin with surprising ease. Perhaps there is wisdom in negotiation? Negotiation? Zarath's light flashed crimson. We have assembled the largest military force seen in centuries. We will crush them and teach the galaxy what happens to those who defy the established order. All fleet commanders prepare for battle. We attack in 6 hours. On the outer edge of the human defensive line near Neptune's orbit, Admiral Junho stood on the bridge of the Righteous Fury. Around his flagship, 12,000 warships waited in carefully arranged formations. They looked small compared to the massive Alliance armada that was advancing toward them. All ships report ready, Admiral. Commander Taeyang reported. Activate the quantum network. Junho ordered. Full tactical coordination across all vessels. Dr. Minji's quantum entanglement system hummed to life. Instantly, every human ship became part of a single coordinated entity. They could share targeting data, tactical information, and battle commands with zero lag time. No other species in the galaxy had this technology. Deploy the automated defense platforms, Junho continued. Activate the minefield, and ready the new weapons. Hidden throughout the solar system, thousands of automated defense platforms came online. They had been built and positioned over the past months, each one a small fortress bristling with weapons. Between them, invisible until triggered, millions of mines floated in preset patterns. Young Wing Commander Hyun sat in his fighter aboard the carrier Defiant Hope. Now bearing scars from the battle against the Veldrin, he had proven himself in that fight. Now he would prove himself again. All squadrons, listen up, came Wing Commander Bora's voice. The Alliance thinks they have us outnumbered. They think their bigger ships and larger fleet will overwhelm us. They are thinking like traditional military commanders. We are not traditional. We are human. Remember your training. Trust your instincts, and show them why we are the most dangerous species to corner. Yes, Commander. The response came from 5,000 fighter pilots across the fleet. As the Alliance Armada approached the Neptune line, they detected the human defensive positions. The formation seemed almost casual, spread out across millions of kilometers of space. "They are trying to avoid being concentrated," observed one Alliance tactical officer. "They want to prevent us from overwhelming them with focused fire." "It will not matter," Zarath declared. "All ships advance. Weapons free. Destroy them." The Battle of the Neptune line began. The Alliance fleet moved forward in a massive wave, their weapons charging. They expected the human ships to retreat, to try to delay the inevitable. Instead, the humans charged directly at them. "What are they doing?" an Alliance commander shouted. "They are outnumbered." "This is suicide!" But it was not suicide. It was calculated chaos. The human ships scattered as they approached, breaking into thousands of individual units. They swarmed through the Alliance formation like angry hornets, attacking from every angle, never staying still long enough to be targeted effectively. Fighter squadrons dove between the massive Alliance battleships, too small and fast for heavy weapons to track. Captain Bora commanded a strike group of 50 destroyers. They moved in perfect coordination, their quantum link allowing them to act as a single entity. They identified a vulnerable Alliance command ship and converged on it from 6 different vectors simultaneously. "All weapons, fire," Bora commanded. The Alliance ship tried to defend itself, but it could not track targets coming from 6 directions at once. Human railguns punched through its armor. Missiles found weak points. In less than 3 minutes, the massive warship was a burning wreck. "Target destroyed," Bora reported. Moving to next objective, Hyun's fighter squadron encountered a wing of Alliance interceptors. The alien pilots were skilled, but they had never faced human tactics before. Hyun led his squadron in a maneuver they called the Death Spiral, corkscrewing through space while maintaining constant fire. The Alliance fighters tried to match them but lost cohesion. Hyun's pilots tore them apart. Then Dr. Minji's new weapons entered the battle. Quantum displacement warheads, she had called them. "Ready to fire," she reported from the science vessel Innovation. "Target their command ships," Admiral Junho ordered. "Fire." The weapons vanished from their launch tubes and appeared inside Alliance vessels already detonating. There was no flight time, no warning, no chance to intercept or defend. Alliance commanders watched in horror as their ships exploded from the inside out. The Coalition Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every representative sat in their designated section, their attention focused on the center of the room where the holographic display showed the aftermath of the Battle of the Neptune line. Images of destroyed Alliance warships floated in the darkness of space like monuments to failed ambition. Chancellor Vex stood at the central podium, his forearms clasped in a gesture that, for his species, indicated deep contemplation. Around him, the representatives of dozens of species waited for him to speak. "The Preservation Alliance has withdrawn their demand for Earth's disarmament," Vex finally announced. "They have also agreed to return all human captives within their territories. The Crystalline Concordat, the Methane Collective, the Therixian Star Kingdom, the Unified Hegemony, and the Celestial Dominion have each issued formal apologies to Earth for their actions." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. For proud empires that had dominated galactic politics for centuries, to apologize was unprecedented. Ambassador Daeho stood in the human section, which was no longer a small observation room but a full delegation area, equal to any other species. With him stood a team of human diplomats and military advisors. The days of him standing alone before the Council were over. "The Coalition Council wishes to extend a formal invitation to Earth," Vex continued, "not as a probationary member, not as an observed species, but as a full founding member of a reformed galactic assembly. Your species has proven itself capable of defending not only yourselves but potentially others. The Council recognizes that the old order failed Earth, and failed the principles the Coalition was meant to uphold." Daeho stepped forward. "Earth appreciates the Council's invitation. However, we have conditions." This caused another stir in the chamber. New members did not make demands, but humanity was no ordinary new member. "First," Daeho said, "the silence protocol and all similar restrictions must be abolished forever. No species should be isolated and left vulnerable as Earth was." "Agreed," Vex said immediately. "Second, all human captives throughout the galaxy must be returned within 90 days, not just those in Alliance territories. Every single one." "That will be more difficult to enforce," Vex replied. "Some captives may be in territories beyond Coalition control." Then the coalition should expand its reach, Deho said firmly. Or Earth will retrieve our people ourselves. We have already demonstrated our capability for long-range operations. This was true. Commander Taeyang's rescue missions had reached 17 different worlds in the past month, extracting human captives from illegal trafficking operations. Several governments had protested these violations of their sovereignty. None had been able to stop them. Third, Deho continued, Earth requests permission to establish a defense pact with smaller species who cannot adequately protect themselves. We will not allow what happened to us to happen to others. This request caused the most controversy. Some representatives saw it as noble. Others saw it as humanity building a power base. But after the Battle of Neptune, no one was willing to oppose it openly. These conditions are acceptable, Vex declared. The Galactic Assembly welcomes Earth. For the first time, the chamber erupted in applause. Not all species joined in, but enough did to make it clear that the galaxy's attitude toward humanity had fundamentally changed. On Earth, President Soyan watched the broadcast with her advisors. When Deho's speech ended, she turned to Admiral Junho, who stood beside her. We did it, she said quietly. We survived. We joined them on our own terms. We did more than survive, Junho replied. We changed the rules. In the months that followed, Earth's transformation from isolated world to galactic power accelerated. The Terran Defense Force expanded to 30,000 ships, incorporating new technology and new recruits. Young people like Hyun, who had proven themselves in combat, now led training programs for alien allies who requested assistance. Dr. Minji's research facility became a hub of scientific cooperation. Alien scientists came to Earth to share knowledge and learn from human innovation. The quantum entanglement network that had given humanity such an advantage in battle was now being adapted for peaceful purposes, creating an instantaneous communication system that would link thousands of worlds. Captain Bora received promotion to Admiral, commanding the new Second Fleet that patrolled human-protected space. She oversaw the integration of allied vessels from smaller species into joint operations. Under her command, mixed species crews learned to work together, combining human tactical flexibility with alien technological advantages. Commander Taeyang continued his work, but now with official sanction. The Terran Special Operations Command became famous throughout the galaxy. When pirates threatened trade routes, they came. When slavers operated in the shadows, they hunted them down. When the weak cried for help, humanity answered. Hana, the combat medic who had saved countless lives during the battles, established the Galactic Medical Exchange. Human doctors shared knowledge with alien healers, combining techniques and technologies to advance medical science for all species. She traveled to dozens of worlds, teaching and learning, turning former enemies into friends through compassion. Engineer Jiwan's weapon designs made Earth's military the most feared in the galaxy. But her civilian innovations brought prosperity. Human manufacturing techniques combining efficiency with quality revolutionized production across dozens of industries. Earth became not just a military power, but an economic one. Wing Commander Hyun, now in his late 20s, commanded the elite First Fighter Wing. He trained pilots from 17 different species, teaching them the aggressive, adaptive style of combat that had proven so effective. His students called themselves Hyun's Hawks, and enemy pirates learned to flee when they saw that insignia. 1 year after the Battle of Neptune, the first human colony ship departed for a distant star system. The New Horizon carried 10,000 colonists to a world that had been scouted and approved by coalition surveyors. Unlike the isolation Earth had endured, this colony would be part of the galactic community from day one. President Soyan stood at the launch facility, watching the massive ship rise into the sky. Beside her, Admiral Junho and Ambassador Deho watched as well. I never thought I would see this day, Soyan admitted. When I was young, we could not even send messages beyond our own moon. Now we are spreading to the stars. We are not just spreading, Deho said. We are building something new. A different kind of galactic civilization, one that protects the weak instead of exploiting them. Do you think it will last? Soyan asked. Or will we become like the empires we fought? Powerful and arrogant? Junho considered this carefully. That depends on whether we remember where we came from. We were isolated, threatened, and left to stand alone. As long as we remember that feeling, as long as we ensure others never experience it, we will stay true to our principles. In the Coalition Assembly, which had been reformed and renamed the Galactic Assembly, humanity's influence grew. 23 smaller species had joined the Human Defense Pact, creating a bloc that protected over 50 worlds. The old empires that had dominated politics for centuries now had to negotiate and compromise instead of dictate. Chancellor Vex, who had initially dismissed humanity as primitive, now worked closely with Ambassador Deho on assembly business. The two had developed an unlikely friendship based on mutual respect. "Tell me honestly," Vex asked Deho one day after a long session, "when you stood before the council that first time, when we laughed at your request to join, did you already know about the fleet?" Deho smiled. "Yes, we had been building it for 30 years at that point. And yet you continued to ask politely for admission? We hoped we would never need to reveal what we had built. War is terrible, Vex. We wanted peace. We always wanted peace. But you prepared for war, because peace without the means to defend it is just slavery waiting to happen." Vex was quiet for a moment. "We were fools to underestimate you. You were not fools. You were complacent. You had dominated for so long that you forgot others could rise to challenge you. It is a common failing of the powerful. And now that humanity is powerful, will you become complacent?" Deho looked out at the stars visible through the assembly chamber's great windows. "I hope not. I hope we remember this lesson. That power must serve justice, not the other way around." 2 years after first contact was truly established, the Veldran Empire requested a peace treaty with Earth. The empire that had once planned to enslave humanity now asked for forgiveness and alliance. President Soyon, in what many considered an act of remarkable mercy, agreed. But the terms were clear. Any future aggression from the Veldran would be met with complete destruction. The treaty was signed aboard the Righteous Fury, Admiral Junho's flagship. The Veldran ambassador, a warrior who had fought at the Battle of Earth's orbit and barely survived, approached Junho after the ceremony. "I must know," the Veldran said, "how did your species develop such advanced technology in only 50 years? We had centuries of development and you surpassed us." Junho smiled. "We had something you did not have. We had desperation. We had no choice but to innovate or die. And humans, when cornered, become very creative. Is it true what they say, that you were prepared to sacrifice your entire fleet at Neptune to stop us?"